If you're a leader, coach, or growth minded professional trying to make better decisions and gain clarity in your life and work, this episode is for you.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion, my words got power, my thoughts have action, motivation, stay gracious, that's greatness, be audacious, motivation, be audacious, innovation, be audacious, inspiration, be bold, motivation, be audacious.
You know, when I look back on life, you start to see some of the pathways and what is clarity at one time is not going to be clarity at another. And so almost 14 years ago, I had a stroke, and you know, that's God telling you to slow down. But you know, it's Semper Gumby. It's how do you morph?
Yes.
How do you change? How do you move to be the person that you need to be at the time? So, you know, but we all have things we want. We all want financial freedom. We all want
Right.
you know, a great family and smart kids and, you know, a loving spouse or a loving partner, and we all want those things, but we don't say those things, and
Gotcha.
it all comes down to purpose. So
What if the reason you feel stuck isn't because of lack of capability, but a lack of clarity about what you actually want? On this episode of the Audacious Living podcast, we're helping you live audaciously by making intentional choices that build real momentum, not just motioner to keep things going for movement. Today's guest is executive coach and author Chip Scholz, who has spent nearly 3 decades helping leaders gain clarity, make better decisions, and create purpose-driven lives grounded in values and character. I gotta tell you, Chip has so much great stuff to offer. So get your pen and paper, get ready to take some good notes, because Chip again, he left some really powerful insights that I'm certain you'll all appreciate. So without any further ado, let's turn to our chat with Chip. Enjoy. Hey, Chip, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living podcast. I appreciate you for taking the time to be here. Thank you.
oh, it is wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Nah, this is great. Like I said before you kind of went live here, for me, this is like the coolest thing in the world, is to talk to people about just kind of topics and discussions that potentially can, you know, make a difference in other people's lives and get them to a better place, if you will. And so it's really like I feel blessed to kind of be a part of this process. And so again, thank you for helping me to move my mission forward. Here on this podcast, you know, we spend much time encouraging individuals to live their best audacious lives. And
Yeah.
you know, I'll often turn, not often, every time we talk here, I turn to this analogy of this pathway, and that's kind of what our life represents. We're on this pathway, and you know, on the, and you know, what we have in front of us, it's ours, and you know, with the choices that we make, the decisions, the actions, they all belong to us, and well, it'll have our own set of obstacles and pitfalls and roadblocks and all of those things. But that's part of the life process, and what makes really cool sense with you being here, because clarity is something that you encourage in people, right? Very much encouraging to find
Yeah.
that clarity, helps in your decision making process, and I think it's and when you have clarity, it's a really nice way of grounding ourselves. It really is, and refocusing and keeping us centered in terms of, you know, where we want to go. So clarity is so important. So, and you've also written a book too, because clarity is important in our decision making, and so you've got a book that are all on that topic as well too. So we'll get into that, but perhaps the starting point, Chip, I can get you to introduce yourself to our audience. So talk about the work that you do and what's got you to the point that you're at now.
Yeah. I'm an executive coach. I've been an executive coach for 27 years. Believe it or not, you know, there's a lot of people that have a difficult time making a living at coaching, and I've made it a full-time thing for the last 27 years. In 27 years, I've been through all of the stages that you talk about. In fact, you know, when I look back on life, you start to see some of the pathways and what is clarity at one time is not going to be clarity at another.
Mm,
And so you know, 27 years coaching, work primarily in the logistics with family businesses and in the construction industry. I'm a wood turner, so all the stuff you see behind
Okay.
me is stuff that I've made,
Nice.
and I love that. That's my stress relief. I think, and I do write. I've got one book out. I've got another one coming out in March of next year, and I'm working on another one for spring of 27. So
Cool.
you start to write, and all of a sudden it gets you into it. But that's me in a nutshell. Married 41 years, three kids, and they're the light of my life. So all of them.
Lovely. Love it. I'd love to know what has been your secret formula, secret sauce to maintaining 27 years. That's a long time
Oh,
in coaching.
41 for marriage.
Sorry. I meant in coaching, in the coaching
Oh, in
space.
27 coaching. Well, it's funny. I ran across this saying a little while ago. Good friend of mine, we used to use it, and it just fits so well. It's Semper Gumby, and Semper Gumby is, think of Semper Fi. Semper Fi is the Marine Corps
Hmm.
motto, and Semper means always, and Fi or Fidelis is always loyal.
Hmm.
Um, Semper Gumby. Do you remember who Gumby was, or what Gumby was?
The character.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
The claymation character.
yeah.
In fact,
That's it. Yeah, 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 yeah.
this is Gumby, and it's Semper Gumby because it's always flexible.
Ah,
And
I like that.
yeah, yeah, and I've that has served me really well because life is going to throw you all kinds of curveballs.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't matter whether they're macro curveballs like the dot-com bubble or 9/11 or something like that, or if they're health conditions.
Yep.
Um, almost 14 years ago, I had a stroke, and that's God telling you to slow down. But it's Semper Gumby. It's how do you morph?
Yes.
How do you change? How do you move to be the person that you need to be at the time?
Yeah.
And it's grounded in values. It's grounded in what you believe. I'm
Hmm.
sure audacious living has the same. What are your core values?
Um, it's funny. When I look at where I'm at, I'm so glad you asked that question, Chip. I love that question. When I look at my life now, and so I'll give you a real quick snapshot here. Um, I was, at the time COVID hit, I was working in the sports industry as a commissioner of a basketball league. I love the sport, so I love what I was able to do. As we know, COVID shut everything down. I'm like, whoa, now what? And I actually I was in a depression. Like I was really going through something, not knowing what it was in the moment, not realizing that sense of loss is what caused me to feel the way I was. And it wasn't actually until I had literally a conversation with a friend. I was like, man, I don't know what. And I literally said, ever since basketball stopped, I'm like, oh, that's what it is. Like, not basketball no more. And that's the value of talking, of sharing people, because that, like, they can help you understand things about yourself that you may not know until you say it out loud. And that's certainly a perfect example of that. And I decided that I wanted to I'll replace it. So okay, if this isn't here, let's replace it. I can't do this anymore. So what can I do? And I turned to podcasting. It's something I'd done many, many years before, and it was just a matter of starting again. It was easy to get into for me, and I did. But I really wanted to do something that mattered, something that made a difference, that was impactful. And it was at that point where I sat down and kind of did this analysis of my life. And I saw that through all the major successes and the milestones and the accomplishments, the air of audacity existed. If I didn't take that chance, if I didn't take that first step, if I didn't take that risk, if I didn't develop the courage, I wouldn't have done the things I had done. And quite frankly, there's things I had done that I failed at, but I still did it anyways. And so it was going through that process of understanding. It was like, oh, wait a second. This thing that is important to me has always been inside of me. I just didn't realize it. And so that was kind of where the awakening had started for me. And then it's sort of it's absolutely fueled this journey. Everything's history in terms of the podcast and the promotion of living life audaciously. And so I'm very much an encourager of that because what I believe it can do, regardless if you're successful or not. Because I know, Chip, that if I am living my my full audacious self, that I have the ability to inspire others to do the same. It's almost like you're giving some people permission. So it's always like, okay, so Chip wrote a book. I can write a book too. Why not? And so I'm writing a book, and then someone else go, wait, Chip and Ollie wrote a book, man. Like maybe I could do the same thing. And
Yeah.
that's the ripple effect that comes with being audacious. And so that's kind of for me, that's just been a core functioning belief. Again, it was always there. I just didn't know. I just didn't know until the realization came. And so that's in a nutshell the journey.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote my first book with seven other people in 2009.
Hmm.
And so, we each took a chapter and
Yep.
and did it that way. And that was more for professional validation. It was kind
Correct.
of like a business card, a big business card, but it was credibility.
Like an anthology kind of
2011.
series.
Yeah, 2011, I wrote another one with a couple other people, and then I had the stroke in 2012, and that kind of cut me out of it for a long time. Well, the book that I just put out is one that I've been working on probably for 10 years, and it sat in a drawer for a long time. And what got me back into writing, and I think this is really important because I think people think that writing a book is this daunting task. But what got me back into writing is my kids gave me Storyworth
Okay.
for Father's Day. And if you don't know what Storyworth is, it's a website that or a platform that what it does is send you a question once a week, and then you write the answer to the question. So questions like who'd you go to prom with, or what was your first car, or where have you lived in your life, and what were your parents like as when you were a kid.
Right.
And it got me back into writing. So I wrote a story a week for a year, 60 stories. They do at the end of the year, they publish it in a book. They bind it and send you the book. We've got four of them, and over the course of 60, or over the course of a year, I wrote 60 stories, 411 pages. Well, that got me back into writing, and
Yes.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and so I dusted off the manuscript and said, "Hey, I got to get this book out." The next book took me a month and a half to write, the one that's coming out in March, because it just flowed, and
Yep.
the one I'm working on now is taking a little bit longer because it's a little bit more complex. But anybody can write a book.
That's right.
It's getting started, and I think Storyworth was a great gateway drug
Good
to
for
get me
you.
back in there.
Good for you. No, and again, that sort of ties into how you can inspire people just through our actions, right? Like that's really, what I think the key is to this. So take action. That's really what we want to do. Take action because that's the difference maker. Um,
Wait, so when's your book coming out, Audley?
so spring of next year, it is living your best audacious life ever. How you're unleashing your inner greatness can change the world.
Oh,
Um,
that's
a-
awesome.
and it is really centered around much of everything that we talk about this podcast, where I was certainly personal life stories. What I'm really proud about it is that like so many really, again, I talk about the cool insights and stuff. Like there's things that I literally taken from podcast episodes, conversations where, hey, episode so and so, this person said this, and then just it goes from there. And so that was a really nice journey to go down, and also a bit of a nod to the people who spent time with me, right? And had something of value to
Hmm.
share with others. And so
Yeah.
it truly it grew into something. While the premise was always there, it's grown into
Hmm.
something I didn't see coming. It's become
Yeah.
something bigger than I ever thought imaginable, and so I'm really excited about the potential and really impacting people. That's what it is.
Yeah. Who are you publishing through?
Self-publishing, self-publishing.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
There's a company that I work with, and
hmm
they're my publisher, and it's called Aloha Publishing.
Okay.
They're in Boise, Idaho, and they are just tremendous to work with. The whole team
Yeah.
is just spot on. And the first couple of books were self-published,
hmm
and I wanted something more, the design work and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. Yep.
But if you ever get around to it, one idea for a great book would be to summarize some of your best podcast episodes,
Yeah. Oh,
and
absolutely.
talk
Yeah.
about the people. Yeah,
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It is, and so when you've got again, I've got a deep catalog, truly, truly is, and so appreciative of everyone and what they've had to share. There's lots to work with, and so I'm just really excited. I've got a few books in me. Let's just put it that way. There's a few other horizon, yeah, which you could probably appreciate a little bit. So that's always exciting. One
it
thing I
is.
wanted
It
to,
is. It is addictive, though. It is
oh,
addictive.
absolutely, absolutely, oh,
Once you
without
start
question.
writing, it's kind of like, oh my God, I got to keep writing.
Well, what's happened is midway through this particular book, I had three other book ideas based on ideas of yeah. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got a coach. She's a coach slash editor, and very phenomenal to work with. And I remember midway through, I said, "We're not done yet, just so you know." And she goes, "Okay, all right." And,
That's great.
I'm telling you, Chip, we're not done. We're not done.
That is awesome.
Something I
That
wanted to
is
ask you
awesome.
about is, you talked about people that they're not missing capability. It's the clarity. Can you kind of explain what that means, if you don't mind?
Well, yeah, and put it in the context of the five C's, and context is one of the first C's. So it's context, clarity, conditioning, choice, and character. And context is knowing who you are, knowing, being brutally honest with yourself about your situation, about your strengths, your the thing that
Hmm
aren't your strengths, and nobody likes to talk about weaknesses because nobody really has weaknesses. They just have things that they're not very good at, and we got a lot of blessings. So how do I count my blessings? How do I count the things that I that get me where I'm going? Clarity is really interesting because clarity is being certain in no uncertain terms what you want. And I can tell from just talking to you that you have a really good picture of what you want. But most people that I found, and I would say it's probably 80% of people have no clue what they want to do. They just do what they
hmm
must. They go from thing to thing to thing in the whirlpool of life, or the whirlwind of life. And I don't know if it's fear of missing out. I don't know if it's I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I think it's interesting that people can tell you exactly what they don't want,
Right, right.
but they can't tell you what they want.
Wow.
And one of the funny ways I put it is, you've got 10% who make it happen. Those are people who know what they want and do it. You get 10% who let it happen, which is people that know what they want, but they don't want to do it because they're extremely frustrated. They don't get around to it. And you got about 80% of the population that says, "What happened?"
Right.
So, it's a gift, really, to have some clarity, to
Yeah.
be able to say, this is what I want.
Mhm.
And I think it has to be framed in lifelong learning. I mean, you don't look exactly like a 20-year-old. So, but we all have things we want. We all want financial freedom. We all want
Right.
a great family, and smart kids, and a loving spouse or a loving partner, and we all want those things, but we don't say those things, and it
Gotcha.
all comes down to purpose. So if I've heard a lot from you about core values, and also what's your purpose, but what is your purpose? Is it to live life out audaciously?
So, and it's funny because I was going to say I want to pull on that clarity string just a little bit because I can tell you, 10 years ago, I didn't know the things that I know now. I didn't have the knowledge, the experience, the insights, the perspectives to be able to say to you, "Hey, this is what I'd like to do, and here's why." Like it just didn't exist,
Yeah.
and so yeah. So so what I wanted to sort of talk about. Okay, so how do you get that clarity? How do you find it? How do you figure it out? How do you know who you are? Right? What does that process look like? Right?
Well, the first step is taking the time to write down what your definition of success is,
Hmm.
because we all want to be successful. I mean, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "I'm going to screw up." Everybody wants to do a good job. Most people don't have it in for you, even if you think they have it in for you. I
Hmm.
mean, most people don't wake up in the morning and think, "How am I going to make it a bad day for you?" So we want to be successful, and in that definition of success, we find out a couple things, and I've done this with a couple thousand people, and I always get similar results, and the similar results is their definition of success is um, a solid marriage,
Right.
great kids, happiness. And the one thing I notice is that these are lifelong pursuits.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
you don't check a box when you're 40 and say, "I'm happy."
I'm
Okay,
successful.
check the
Yeah.
box and
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Happiness defines in different ways. I mean, happiness at my age is a whole lot different than happiness when I was 15
Right.
or
Right.
25 or
Right.
35. And so, but the important thing is that if happiness is that lifelong goal,
Hmm.
I'm consistently working my way towards it. And
That's right.
a lot
That's
of
right.
times people take a look at what they're doing and think that their purpose is some
Hmm.
lofty thing, or there was a book written by Susan Byrne a few years ago, no, Rhonda Byrne, I'm sorry, Rhonda Byrne, and it was called The Secret.
Okay.
Did you read The
Not familiar with
Secret?
that one. Not familiar with that one.
Yeah, yeah, it was an interesting book. It was a phenomenon, millions of copies sold and all that kind of stuff. And she said things like, write a check to the universe and see what comes back
Yes.
and all that kind
Yes.
of crap.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I'm a little bit more grounded than that, and I'm saying, okay, look, define what success is for you,
Hmm.
and just, semper Gumby. Life is going to throw you curveballs. But if I know that my goal is to have a successful marriage,
Yep.
then I'm going to keep working on that successful marriage.
Yep. Yep.
So, I think that's where you start with clarity. Oddly, is just being able to list out those things that are success for you.
Interesting when you sort of talk about a list of success. Oftentimes, when you look at that list, you're not going to necessarily see things, like I want to be a CEO of a company, or success means that I've got the corner office, or the premier parking spots, right?
Or the house, or the
Yes,
car, or the
yes,
boat,
those
or
don't,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Although
want to
all
have my own G5.
right, right. Well, what's interesting about that is that won't appear on people's lists, but when we see that, we go, "Oh, that person's successful," right?
There
Which
was
is an
a
interesting contrast.
There was a story in the Wall Street Journal this morning about a guy who started a company. He was originally one of the partners of Michael Milken, and he started a company called Global Crossing. And he was supposedly the richest man in LA.
Yeah,
He passed away in 2023 because everybody passes away at some point.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
and in the aftermath of him passing away, they found he was so mired in debt and his wife had no clue that he was mired in debt, but he was living on an 8.5 acre estate in Bel Air, and he bought it for $94 million.
Okay.
So a couple things. First of all, he died.
Yeah.
Second of all, it was all an illusion. So all the money he gave to charity, all the money that went
Wow.
to this lavish lifestyle, and he was 72 when he passed. And I thought to myself, I said, wow. what an interesting house of cards people build,
Mm.
to support things that aren't really important to them.
It is. No, it is. It really is. I mean, social media as an example is a great place to see you can see lots of illustrations of that. And, people will rent jet planes and just take pictures of them or big houses or big cars just to say that they were in one. And, and that becomes what people go, oh, wow, this is what he was in, or this is what this person did. And it is. I think a house of cards is a beautiful, beautiful analogy because it's just not real, or at least not built. No, not that it's not real, it's not built on a firm foundation, is what I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, and so you'll relate to this,
Uh-huh.
because I can tell in the way that you've lived your life. There's a book called The Second Mountain by David Brooks,
Okay.
and he talks about how we all climb two mountains. And the first mountain is success or fame or whatever. And somewhere along the line, we have a crisis. For me, 1998, I got laid off by the company I was working for.
Hmm.
They laid off a bunch of people at the same time, and they were getting ready to sell the company, although we didn't know that at the time. And so I had a choice. I mean, that was where the mountain came,
Right.
and I had a choice. And this I guess the sign, kind of the second crisis was the stroke, and so the second mountain he describes as building a life of purpose instead of life of success and
Yep.
all of the extrinsic awards. It's more intrinsic.
Yes.
And I think that's the important part is you're building an intrinsic life yourself.
Hmm. And it's true, and I think you're absolutely right. I think it's that second mountain that we all get to our own realization when it's time to climb that second mountain. Right, we're not going to be the exact, and that's why what I go back to the path of it, Ron. We're on our own individual path, and Chip, you got yours, and I got mine, and maybe there's something you're doing over there that's kind of cool that I could incorporate, but it's still on your path. And I got to focus what's in front of me because if I'm not, I'm missing this what's I have there for me because I'm focused on the wrong thing, which is not my path. And
That's a great point. And I found over the years, and I'll tell you how I discovered this. I came up with this concept called waypoints, and it's in the book.
okay,
And I shared it with some people, and I said in this meeting, I said I would appreciate you not letting this get out. It's really kind of my intellectual property. And a guy pulled me aside and he said, "You know what?" He said, "Give it away because it's going to get out there anyway. Give it away and give it away freely." And he said another thing that was really important. He said, give your life away, give all you know away, because especially if you talk to somebody that wants to get into coaching,
right.
and you share the secret sauce of coaching,
Hmm.
and he said share the secret sauce of coaching, and he said most people won't do what you did to get what you got.
Right. Well, I would say most people can't because it's your, and that goes back to what's yours, right? Like there's things
Well,
that they can do,
yeah,
right? They
yeah.
can emulate and replicate, but the results aren't going to be the exact same.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're Audley, I'm Chip, and we're
Hmm.
we're all unique individual people, but
Hmm.
there's no secret sauce of coaching. I mean,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
everybody does it different way.
Right.
Um, but it's one of those things that, it's like, and when you give things away,
Yep.
all of a sudden you feel lighter.
Hmm. Yeah. I like that perspective.
Yeah, because you're not having to struggle to keep a secret or
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
so.
Well, and you're holding on to things um for the word negative comes to mind, but the reason behind that is whether it's fear of someone copying what you take or someone using what you created and because like
Yeah.
by letting it go it's like okay whatever. It's almost where I equate it to is it's the equivalent of owning your own story. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you go through life let's say you messed up royally. It's not it wasn't one of your proudest moments, all of that, and but when you own that, no one else can come back and say to you, well, this is what you did. And you don't have to hide in shame because you've owned that. So it's very similar that if you own your story, it's yours and you accept it for what it is.
Well, I really appreciate the writing of Brene Brown, and
Mm,
I don't know if you've seen. We call her in the business Saint Brene, but Brene Brown talks about shame, and she talks about what
yes.
courage is, and
Yes.
she talks about the hold that shame has on you. And this is where you're talking about, whether it's giving away something that is closely held,
Yes.
or telling a secret that you feel will be shame, that people will think less of you, and so you don't share it, and you hold it, and it burns, and it kills you.
Mm,
And courage is, according to her, telling the story of your life with a whole heart. And so you can be wholehearted when you
yes.
tell that story.
Yes.
And hey, most people are extremely forgiving. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
um there are things I'm sure that you've done, and I'm sure there are things that I've done that I'm not proud of.
Yeah.
But if you let it loose, if you let it go.
Well, I'll tell you that an important part of that process to me is something that I encourage and speak about always and often is what do you do next? Right. So what's next? So,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, you did
yeah,
this thing, or yes, this thing happened, or even something unfortunate happened to you. So it's true. You had a stroke. Did your story end at the stroke? No, it's what did you do
no,
next? And so to me, that's where the story really picks up. That's where it gets exciting, right? Like,
yeah,
give me the
yeah,
popcorn, tell me what you did. And then after the stroke, then you did what? And how did you do that? And because that is where it gets exciting. And so it doesn't stop at the bad stuff. There's more. There's more to come. There always is. But
yeah.
but that's a decision.
It took me a while to figure out the popcorn
Yeah.
after the stroke, but
Yeah. Yep.
it's funny. It's all about attitude too, because I could have been. So a lot of here's an interesting stat. 90% of people that have a significant heart event, like a heart attack, or open heart surgery, or that kind of thing, are back on the table or dead within 3 years,
Hmm.
because they don't change their lifestyle,
Mm-mm.
and they get depressed. And we don't talk about it much, but men especially, when we have a major health event,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden that gets in the way of our thinking that we're eternal, that we're going to live forever, that we're bulletproof. And all of a sudden, that our whole picture of ourselves as the stalwart ones, and the ones,
Right.
that are going to do everything, and be everything, is questioned. And you can fall into the trap of saying, woe is me, or
Yes.
life sucks, or whatever. I had one of those moments. I still remember I had one of those moments, and I kicked myself in the ass and said, you know what, it is what it is. Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
And I lost 110 pounds after the stroke. I started walking. In fact, the 2 years after the stroke, I walked 3,500 miles,
Wow.
and just changed my life.
Wow.
There are very few people that do that, though.
Yes.
There are people that just retire to their easy chair, and eat bonbons, and think that life is over.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, I had parents that died young. My dad was 51. My mom was 56 when she passed, and I was an orphan at 30.
Wow.
And it gets in your head. You think that you're not going to make it past that, and
That's right.
the stroke happened 27 days before the age that my mother was when she passed.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and it's self-fulfilling prophecy. I didn't take care of
Sure.
myself, and
Right. Right.
um,
Right.
and and so, all of a sudden, it's like, God, I would have missed the last several years. I
Look, I would have missed
It
out
would
on.
have
Yeah.
sucked
Yeah.
to die.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
And then you think of what you look at what you've done in that time and all the things that you did you
yeah,
wouldn't have been able to do, right? So I
yeah,
I totally get it. I totally get it. We referenced the book a couple times. Small decisions, big shifts. That's the title, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I want to sort of talk about the emphasis on those small decisions and how instrumental they can be to our goals. I wonder if you sort of some context around that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it goes back to clarity. If you know what you want, then you make those small decisions. So instead of having the hot fudge sundae with 3 bananas, you have a yogurt. And if that's important to you, if your
Or two
health,
bananas or two bananas.
yeah, yeah, or 2 bananas. But if
Yeah,
health
that
is
gets you to it.
important to you,
Yes, yes,
that's what you do.
yeah.
And you make those small decisions every day.
Hmm.
Um, and those lead to the big changes. Listen, I didn't get to weigh 350 pounds overnight.
Gotcha.
I didn't all of a sudden put on a fat suit. Um, so it took me a long time to get there, and a lot of bad decisions and smoking and all that kind of crap.
Hmm.
And so you got to make those small decisions. You got to make that every day. When I quit smoking, I didn't tell my wife for a year because I wanted to make sure it was sticking before I said anything. And it was just, well, I'm a really good quitter anyway. Quit drinking 35 years ago and quit smoking in 2008. Um, but you've got to make those small decisions every day. And if you have clarity, and if you've got your mind right, conditioning, if you have set your waypoints and know what behaviors you're going to do,
Yep.
then it all works. And then character is being able to carry it out.
Mm.
It's holding yourself personally accountable.
And then
And a lot of people have a difficult time with that.
well, yeah, and what I was actually going to add to that is how important momentum is, because when you can create that momentum and you start to go, like it's almost like it's on autopilot, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd love to sort of because so and get your sort of take on sometimes people set these sort of big audacious goals and they fail, right? Um, is the function just being too big? They didn't have enough of those small checkpoints and milestones along the way. Like, just your thoughts. I mean, I know there's not just a one answer, but I'd love to get your perspective on it.
Yeah. And thank you for asking. That was a really insightful question. So a lot of times, and this is my heartburn with goals. Okay.
Okay.
A lot of times goals are set with great intention,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't find a place in your life
Mm,
because perhaps it's not part of what you want to do long term. So
gotcha.
think about, if you have clarity and you know what you want to do at the end of, where you want to end up. And I want to be happy. I want to have a great marriage. I want to have, good kids and all that kind of stuff, financial stability and all that. Then then setting a goal. Well, I'll give you a great example. Um, in 2007, before the recession, um, I was really deeply in debt.
Okay.
And clarity said, I'm tired of it. I got to get out of debt. And it was a big mountain climb. If I just set a goal of getting out of debt, it wouldn't have fit in my life. It wouldn't have changed anything, because people are great goal setters. They're just really poor goal planners. So one of the things in the book is this thing called a waypoint document. And a waypoint document is a way of planning it out. And there are a couple of clues in here. First of all, are the so whats. So you write the intention, I want to get out of debt. And so what? So what if I do? So what if I don't? What are the rewards? What are the benefits? What are the consequences? Why does it matter? And you ask that 5 times, like a fishbone diagram and that kind of thing.
Yes. Yes.
If you're not emotionally tied to whatever you're trying to get done, then then it's not going to work. And then the other one is, okay, so I have a time standard for planning, and time is a start and a stop. what am I going to stop doing so I can start doing what I want to do?
Mhm.
Because I mentioned the whirlwind before, and the whirlwind sucks us up.
Yes, it
You
does.
know, picking up the kids, picking up the dry cleaning, go to work, etc. The whirlwind sucks us up.
Yep.
And how do we break that part of the whirlwind and say, I'm going to stop watching whatever the TV show of the moment is and go to the gym?
Hmm.
How am I going to stop doing something else so I can start a reading program? A scary stat, I don't know if you ever heard this, but 57% of college grads
Hmm.
never finish a book cover to cover in their entire lives.
Huh. It's pretty high.
Yeah. So 43% do, but 57%
Don't.
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't.
So if you want to read, if you want to, and I'm kind of a reading nut. I read a couple books a month. Um, you've got to find some way to fit it into your life.
Correct. Hmm.
So to my mind, waypoints, think about if you're talking about the journey to success, if you're
Yep.
talking about the journey, the lifelong journey, um, waypoints are navigation points within that. So to get out of debt, I had to set, I think I ended up setting, I don't know, 30 or more waypoints on, on the debt part, waypoints on the income, waypoints
Yep.
on the thing I need to learn, and that kind of thing. So setting waypoints makes it a part of what I do rather than this thing that's outside the whirlwind. Does that make any
Mm,
sense?
it totally makes sense, and because so what you're really doing is putting it in context for what it is, and that's
Yeah.
and that's something extremely important to be able to do, because then you see it for what it truly is too, right? And then it allows you to evaluate. Okay, this is, I need more resources to help me do this, or what else can I bring in, or who else can help me, or like so it lays it out for you. So I'm hearing that loud and clear, which I think is a great approach. I want to touch on one of the C's, courage, if you don't mind, because I would imagine that's one of your five C's, I should say. So I want to, I imagine that throughout the years, you've had to work with clients and help them develop or teach them or understand the courage they need to do X, Y, and Z, whatever they are after. How do you do that, or is it possible to teach someone courage?
Well, the one of the five C's is character. It's not courage, but
Oh,
interesting you were talking about courage because I'm working on a speech right now that I've got to give to an organization, and it's on courage. And
okay.
I
I had
think of it
courage
in
in my
three,
head. I don't know. I was almost certain it was one of your five C's there. My bad.
but it's a great one. Maybe it could have been the sixth C.
The sixth one.
Um,
There we go. As long as you
but
give me credit
courage,
for it, I'm fine with that. As long
I
as you
I
give me credit.
will, I will. So the sixth, the courage really comes about in three ways. I lost you, Audley.
Let's try that again. Can you hear me? You can hear me,
I can
right?
hear you. Oh, there you are.
There we go.
You're
There we go.
back.
There we go.
Yeah, yeah. Courage really comes in three ways. It comes in the quiet courage of showing up. It's showing up for your family. It's showing up for work. It takes a lot of courage to get your butt out of bed and do the things you need to do every day. And most people don't think of that as courage, but it is a courageous act because you can sit on your ass all day and lie on the sofa and watch TV and
Hmm.
you know get around to the Price is Right and that kind of thing, or you can get up and do the things you need to do, and that is courage. Courage is also having hard conversations.
Yes. Yeah.
And the hardest conversations are with yourself, but it's having the hard conversations. It's understanding that it is what it is, and it's calling that out. And the other courage, there's a great book by Amy Edmondson that is The Right Kind of Wrong, and in the book she talks about psychological safety and creating a psychologically safe organization.
Yes.
And what she says is that you've got to be able to call out mistakes. You've got to be able to call out the faults. And
Yes.
so the real courage is like, hey, if you see something wrong, say something
Yes.
instead of
Yes.
burying.
It's so I'm smiling because I'm actually working on a presentation now, and I'm sort of breaking down the myths of audacity, and
Mm,
one of those myths is this belief that audaciousness is this big thing. I've climbed this mountain. I've biked across the country. I've swam the Nile. Whatever people sort of equate an audacious to, and actually it could be the small things, i.e., speaking up, identifying things that aren't right, taking time for yourself, setting boundaries. Those are all audacious things that require the
yeah,
courage that we speak of. And so,
yeah,
I'm sort of in that zone now as you mentioned that. So that's what I resonate with. But I do think it matters and it makes a difference, and it doesn't have to be like I've climbed Mount Everest, I'm at the top. The small things are
that's right.
equally audacious.
That's right.
So.
Yeah.
Chip, I gotta tell you, man, I really enjoyed our chat here. It's been really, really good, and I want us to conclude with something we do here often. We call this a fearless fast round. A bunch of rapid fire questions. I throw stuff out you. You tell me first thing that comes to mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's try this. Try this. So, give me if I said clarity or courage, where'd you go first?
Clarity.
Yeah. What's the one habit that quietly changes everything?
Um, Patience.
Wow. Yeah. 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 A decision you wished you'd made sooner.
Hmm. So this is a longer answer, but
Mhm.
it is things happen and you take action when you're ready. Um, but it goes back to I wish I had paid more attention in school.
Mm.
I wish I took school seriously. I wanted to major in getting out. Give me the
Curious, I did
damn
too. That's what
degree.
I majored in too.
Yeah,
with
give me
undergraduate
the
having
damn degree and
fun.
let me get the hell out. Yeah. So yeah,
Undergraduate having fun. That's what I think.
that's right.
Is there? You've talked a few times about your love for reading. Is there a book that you recommend the most?
Oh God, I really I like the Four Agreements.
Mm.
It's Don
Wonderful
Miguel
book.
Ruiz. It's an old book. It's been out 20, 25 years, and it is one of the best books I've read. But there's a heck of a lot of books. So, shameless plug here. If you go to my website, scholzassociates.com, and go to books
Yep.
and what's Chip reading,
Hmm.
there are about 140 books in there that you can look up, and there's a review of each one of them. Now they're my reviews,
Yep.
so what I like may not be what you like,
Sure.
but there are everything from, oh God, there's everything from Power versus Force, David Hawkins, to the Four Agreements, to some Malcolm Gladwell books. I love
Mhm.
Malcolm Gladwell,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I think I've read everything I've they've written, and so th- there's a lot, and here's what I really recommend is to read broadly,
Mhm. Yep.
because you don't get stuck in the flavor of the day.
That's right. That's
So
right. Or just certain types of books, right? You look across the
mhm,
board and you absorb everything.
that's right.
Mind you, I did know about the reviews that had on your website. So that question was strategically asked there.
Oh,
Uh,
good, good.
so no, so it wasn't a shameless plug. It wasn't at all. Morning routine or evening reflection.
Read the Wall Street Journal every morning, and go to bed reading some great literature.
Got you. Got you. What do people overcomplicate the most?
Everything.
Okay, life. Let's call it life.
Yeah, they overcomplicate life. Life is pretty easy. Get up and take care of yourself and take care of the people around you, and life gets good.
If you had a piece of advice for someone who's stuck right now, what would you tell them?
Boy. I rarely give advice because if I give advice and they take it and it doesn't work out, then they're going to blame me.
Yeah.
And so really it's kind of a zero sum game. But
Right.
the best piece of advice is invest in yourself.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with that one. Last one for me, Chip. If you were to describe or define what it means to live life audaciously, what would you say?
I would say show up. Yeah,
Well,
show up. So let me ask you a question.
sure.
Um, what are your takeaways from today? What did
Um,
you get out of this conversation?
so first and foremost, for two individuals who've met for the very first time, the viewpoints and perspectives on life are very synergistic and in sync. Which just reinforces how closely connected that we all are as individuals. We sometimes
Oh,
think that you're way over here you are in two different countries, right? We're two different countries,
yeah.
and there have been numerous times in this conversation we both nodded and said, "Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I'm with you. I see the same way." That's not just by chance or by just it just happened, right? It's very much about the idea of the connection that we have, and so that's the literally the first that comes to mind. I do also very much appreciate. The fact that your story of the stroke wasn't the story. And that's where I think a lot of people falter, where this thing happened to them and all their story is about what happened to them, right? Not what they did about it or what action they took. It's what happened to them. And so I think you mentioned your stroke maybe twice, maybe
Yeah,
three times. I'll give you three times, right? And that,
yeah.
but you easily could have been here. Oh yeah, the stroke and the stroke and the stroke and all the hardship I had, but but you saw greater than that. And so yeah, when I think about what we this conversation, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Oh, that's great. I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope we can get together again sometime. And
Absolutely, absolutely. You got
Audley, if
you
you
got a few books coming out, man. So yeah, there's more reasons to. So yeah.
yeah, the next book is in March. It's called Every Dog Has Its Day.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And Every Dog Has Its Day came up with there are two things that it brings to mind. One is everybody's going to die.
Mm,
There's a great Latin phrase called memento mori, which means remember your death,
mm,
and that keeps you humble. And then every dog has his day. We all have our 15 minutes of fame.
we
Some
do.
people's 15 minutes last 15 years, but we all have our moment of fame. So, live life to the best of your ability, knowing that you are going to die someday, and you want to use it up until you got the last drop out.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Chip, this is, like I said, been awesome. And yes, I very much appreciate this time together. For listeners that wanted to connect with you, learn more about your work, grab your book. Where can we send them?
Amazon
Okay.
is where the book is, but also there's an audio book, and the audio book for some reason isn't on Amazon, but it's on BarnesandNoble.com. It's on Rakuten. Their what is it? Nobo,
Okay.
their book site, and it's on a couple of other platforms. But
Good.
I'm pretty proud of both of the books, and
Good.
yeah, that's exactly. Or you can go to ScholzandAssociates.com. There's a link there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we'll make sure that the appropriate contact details are in the show notes below. Again, Chip, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for this. I appreciate the time, the insights, the perspectives. Congratulations on your own journey. And thanks again for being a guest on the Audacious Living Podcast.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Much thanks and appreciation to Chip for being here. I really appreciate all the insights. And again, thank you. You know, when I think about the conversation, one of the biggest takeaways, you know, is around clarity and how it changes everything. You know, what you truly want, your daily decisions start to line up with that vision we talked about. And that's where the real transformation begins. You know, what I love most about this conversation with Chip is how Chip reminded us that success isn't built on big dramatic moves. It's built on small, consistent decisions we make every single day. If this conversation resonated with you, I encourage you to connect with Chip, check out his book, Small Decisions, Big Shifts, and explore his work around clarity, decision-making, and purposeful growth. And, you know, you think about life, it's a pathway with waypoints. You don't leap to the destination in one move. You move step by step, decision by decision, staying flexible, grounded, and true to what matters most. So keep showing up, keep making those small, courageous decisions, and keep moving forward on your path. If you found value in this episode, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, or share, and even review. Your audacious growth doesn't just impact you, it gives others permission to do the same. And with that note, I say thank you for being here, and remember to live life audaciously.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion, my words got power, my thoughts have action, motivation, stay gracious, that's greatness, be